I've been making videos professionally now for well over a decade, and in that time, I've had the pleasure of color grading hundreds of projects. So you might be thinking, in all of that time, that I've developed a pretty robust workflow to get consistent colors across my videos. Well, you'd be wrong. And this is why just over a year ago now, I hired this guy, David Ross.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. Hey, actually, this is kind of funny to think of that a year ago, you were like, let's do a test video. I'll come out, I'll teach you Resolve. Like, I want to do more color grading, and I'm going to show you my color grading workflow. We've now been working together for a year. Where do we stand in terms of color grading?
Well, I stopped color grading.
Yeah, and I didn't do it either. Okay. So in today's video, what we want to do is take you through our process so far of building a LUT for this camera and for post workflows that gives us an image that we're more happy with. And we're also launching a website where you can get that LUT and others that we'll be building as like work in progress LUTs completely for free. There'll be a little pay what you can section if you want, but download them, try them out. If you like them, awesome. If you have any feedback, let us know somehow, like in the comment section, not in my emails. I have a general idea of what I like an image to look like, and yet I really struggle to make that happen, not just shot to shot to shot, but really from video to video to video. When I look at my friends Becky and Chris, they have this incredibly consistent imagery from their photos to their videos, and a lot of that is supported by their color grading, but also their set design, their wardrobe. They put a lot of thought and care into it, and that's inspiring, and I would like to do more of it.
I'd say where it comes from for me is I look in the screen of the FX3, which is about the size of like the expensive stamps you can buy at the post office.
The FX3, while incredible in most regards, it's just not super confidence inspiring when you look at the rear display. The colors aren't maybe as predictable as they are on something like my C70 or Dave's Blackmagic. But in the last couple of months, a few things have happened that have made working with this camera better. The first is that there was a new FX3 firmware, and so now we can import our own LUTs into the camera, which means we're able to get a preview in camera, at least closer to the final image that we're going to be going for. The other thing that happened is that Dave recently built a new LUT for this camera that we have preloaded into the FX3 and into this OC, I don't know, 5-inch monitor. It's cheap, it's pretty good. Caleb Pike has a video about it, so that monitor. And so even though that LUT wasn't necessarily where we wanted the final image to be, having it in the monitor and the camera has made getting results at least much more reliable than they used to be with our previous workflow. While designing this LUT, I knew that I wanted the image to be contrasty with lots of dynamic range, but without blowing out the highlights or crushing the shadows. I wanted it to be saturated without feeling like I've got Oompa Loompa skin. I also wanted to subdue some of the greenery on the LUT, since these Sony cameras can really make those greens kind of nuclear, and we find ourselves shooting out in the forest in midday sun all the time. And since I honestly don't know how to make a LUT, I thought I would let Dave do the explaining, because Dave made the LUTs.
Welcome to Baby Davy's LUT Crafting Corner. I am an award-winning LUT creator, as you can see here.
And baby.
And a baby. What is a LUT? Well, LUT stands for lookup table. And lookup table, no one knows what that means. Here is our 3 shots. We've got indoor, outdoor, and mixed lighting. And the first thing we want to do is create a nice exposure curve. I think to start, I'm gonna model our exposure curve after the default Sony LUT we've been using. I'm kind of looking at his sweater to see when these colors feel like they belong together, or at least the shades. Let's copy this look and paste it over top. So this is good. The exposure looks right. Let's do it on this one too. But the greens are just popping off the screen. We gotta stop it. Let's go into our secondary curves here. I'll just pick green and I'll start making it just a touch more yellow. Now let's go into hue versus saturation. We just wanna pull the color out of the leaves too. The next thing we wanna do is create just the slightest hint of color contrast. We're gonna go back to our curve, and the full curve is selected here, but we're just gonna select the red curve. We're just going to find an area we can pull down in the darks, sucking a little bit of the red out of the darks, and that just reinforces the blue and green that's still there. The next thing we want to do, and one of the last things, we want to just reinforce those skin tones. So let's take a look at how this looks on the mixed lighting shot here. It looks like it's just leaning a little bit left. Ever so slightly add in some magenta. Okay, here's our look with our LUT on it. And now let's take a look back at the default Sony LUT that we've been using for the last year. Okay, still looks pretty good, but I would argue ours has a little bit more color separation. It's a little bit warmer, and it's definitely creamier. Everything sort of just looks rich and juicy. When the sun comes out, the greens really pop out. Now look at this, we throw our LUT on, and it just sort of mutes them a bit, but also kind of enhances them, makes it look a little more golden hour. And here's the mixed lighting. This is the old default Sony LUT we've been using, and here is the one we have created. You can see that the darker areas are a little bit more teal, but we're not compromising these really dark blacks. And that's really important, because if you don't do that, you end up with like an Instagram filter. Hopefully this is helpful for you to make your own LUTs. It's very easy to just get into this program, start moving the dials and seeing what you like. Check out Resolve, make your own LUTs, or download our LUTs from our new website, Luts.
This video is brought to you by Storyblocks. I like to think of Storyblocks as an editor's toolbox, because with Storyblocks you get access to this massive library of things like stock footage, After Effects templates, graphic elements, sound effects, all of these kinds of finishing pieces that you're going to need when it comes to editing video. Oh, and in case that wasn't obvious, those claps weren't in the song. They just felt like they made the pacing of the edit of this ad better. So I got the sounds from Storyblocks to make the ad for Storyblocks about how you can make the sounds for Storyblocks about Storyblocks. And with well over 1 million of these digital assets, you're gonna be able to find uses for them in every single project. And with Storyblocks' unlimited all-access plan, you get access to that massive demand-driven library to use in all of your films. So if you wanna learn more about Storyblocks and all that they have to offer for you as an editor with that toolbox, then click the link down in the description or go to www.storyblocks.com/Jesse Driftwood. But make sure the letters are sequential and not back and forth, because typing and reading. Thanks, Storyblocks.
I assume that even after we dial in this LUT, maybe a year from now, and we have it perfected, that I'll still be grading on top of that LUT, because this is really just a starting place that's neutral and yet pushes towards the direction that I like my images. I think this is technically Gen 3, evolution number 3 of this attempt at a LUT. I expect there to be more to come, and as that gets updated and advanced, we'll be putting those up on our website, luts.co, so feel free to check that out at the link in the description. It's not a great website, but it is ours. That's about it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Definitely check that website often, or my Twitter or something. I'll probably post as we create new attempted rough cut LUTs. We'll be posting them there, hopefully making one for our Insta360 cameras, also probably the Canon and the Blackmagic as well, just so that we have a relatively cohesive in-house image that, we know what we're gonna get. Thanks for watching. You're great, you're great, you're great. You are great.
That's luts.co, motherfuckers!